We went out to meet 10 people across the UK, and I'm very grateful to those that did participate, and particularly to Critical Eye, who helped us to do that, and Debbie, who marshalled us to make sure that we were asking pertinent questions in what we did. But it was a difficult thing, because what we wanted to know was, is a well-run business that is able to engage its staff actually going to be more productive and more profitable as a consequence? And as Debbie mentioned, the killer question, number 5, if we all did a bit more, would the total economy improve? Though we asked 100 questions, 10 questions to 10 people, what we learned in the collation of all that information was that there were 5 core themes. And the number one thing we were very much assured of was the fact that engagement does have a transformational impact on businesses. If you get that wrong, it's a negative for your business. And that there was no uncertainty in people's minds as we spoke to them. Now, obviously, we're speaking to some probably very leading managers in our economy, but number one was that there was total agreement. Employee engagement does drive business performance. On the flip side, disengage is a dangerous thing. So we talk about absenteeism, but we also talk about presenteeism. So what happens when someone's there in body, but not there in spirit, not there in mind, not actually contributing to your business? And that was seen as big a danger as number one. And Martin Dodd at Lloyd's Bank was very interesting. He can pinpoint the best performing parts of his organization. And he runs, I think, 8,000 people. He's got all of their telephony. And he can pinpoint where he's got underperformance day to day in his service as a consequence of how people are how engaged they are. We learned that surveys are not enough, and it's a point that Joanne made when we were going through the investigations. You can't just speak at people, you got to involve them, you got to show them what's happening, you got to have, in Alex's terms, a purpose behind what you're doing. You have to go beyond surveys. Workplace culture drives that, and also we learned that leadership is incredibly important. The underlying theme here is engagement is not a HR activity. Engagement is a business imperative. It's an outcome we should all be bothered about in running our businesses. Not content with that, because if Alex were measuring our exactness and our causation, then we spoke to some good businesses and some good managers in those businesses. What happens to the rest? So we work with a business called Employee Feedback, and they do a lot. They've worked for me for nearly 10 years now in the different businesses I've been involved with. But they have a fantastic database of, other businesses, about 340,000 people behind these numbers. And they actually have seen a slight degradation in engagement. But nonetheless, it's up there in the early 70s as a number and as a measurement, which you would probably expect. If someone goes to the bother of actually conducting a survey, then probably they care and have some interest. But what we did is we took their benchmarks and we went out. So last month we did our own survey. We went out on social media and we asked 1,000 people, are you engaged in your job? Because we want to know about that. We want to do this tracking from the great information we got from the people that we interviewed, followed through to the experience of employees' surveys. And actually what we found was in everything that we measured, and we were able to correlate employee feedback's data to the questions that we asked. And are you happy at work? In general, we found 21 points behind what the guys measure as a norm in their data set. Enthusiastic about your job, 27 points behind that number. Keen to work, keen to get up in the morning and go for it and go and contribute, 25 points behind the average. What we learned from surveying those 1,000 people is that 50% of the population was not engaged in the job that they do. That's a gap. That's a very significant gap for us. And that will be driving down productivity or holding productivity back, to be more correct perhaps. That's a huge difference in our economy, and that will be driving a difference. We don't claim that we can solve the entire GDP gap that we've talked about here today, because that's quite wide and it's quite varied and it's regional and it's got to do with pay scales, it's got to do with the coffee machine, who knows what else. But if you can reach out and engage more with your employees and create an environment where they can contribute more, then you will do better. So I guess in summary, you'll see this in the report and in the white papers. These are the 5 themes that we learned as we went through the work that we did. And I guess the frightening factor for us is the amount of people in our economy today who are not engaged in the work that they do. And that's the bit that we were trying to go and figure out. What is it, and how can we raise the importance of engagement across the whole economy, because it will make a difference. And probably it's the smaller businesses as well. It's the SMEs, the smaller businesses across the UK that have got that opportunity for us to go and make things better.